I've got a smile on my face, and I've got 4 walls around me. I've got the sun in the sky, all the waters surround me. I win now, and sometimes I lose. I've been battered, but I never bruise. It's not so bad. The Canadian singer Alan Doyle from the Newfoundland band Great Big Sea wrote these words in a song entitled Ordinary Day. It's about perspective. It's about finding joy in the ordinary. And the chorus goes like this. I say, hey, hey, it's just an ordinary day, and it's all your state of mind. It's all your state of mind. When Yaakov and Esav, Jacob and Esau, meet for the first time in 20 years in this week's parasha, they have the opportunity to reflect on where they've been, what they've gained, what they've lost, how their life is after all these years. And without going into too much detail about the encounter itself, and the commentaries decide how to read this episode and whether or not to believe that these 2 brothers were really able to kiss and make up after all they had been through, there's a moment of reflection for each of these men as they look at what they have. They have each amassed wealth. They have married. They've had children. They have struggled too, no doubt. And we've heard intimately about Jacob's struggle with his father-in-law, his struggle with the angel, his struggle with his place in the world. And Esav says to his brother, Yesh li rav achi. I have so much, my brother. I don't need your gifts, your offerings. Thank you. I have a lot. Yaakov is trying then to insist that his brother take his gifts. And in his response, he says, not Yesh li rav, I have a lot, but Yesh li Kohl, I have everything. Now, of course, he doesn't have everything. Nobody does. But to quote the great Alan Doyle, it's all your state of mind. We will never have it all. But how will we express our gratitude for what we do have? Will we say, I have a lot? Or will we say, I have everything I need? Pirkei Avot teaches, Ezehu Ashir, who is wealthy? Hasameach bechelko, the person who is happy with her lot, who is able to be contented. The sentiment, the feeling of, I have Kohl, everything, is something that we see expressed with regards to Abraham, to Avraham as well. Hashem beirach et Avraham bakol. The text tells us at the end of Abraham's life, God blessed Avraham with Kohl, with everything. And of course, in that moment, Avraham also doesn't have everything. In fact, it's right after this that he goes off to find a wife for his son to ensure his future, to ensure the continuity that he's been promised. So he doesn't have everything, but he pauses for a moment of gratitude, of satisfaction. And maybe, just maybe, his grandson Jacob, Yaakov, perhaps inherited this perspective, this way of looking at his life, looking at his lot, and being happy with it. Yesh li Kohl, I have everything. It's not a statement of fact. It's a statement of perspective. It's an ordinary day, and it's all your state of mind. Let this be perhaps a kind of mantra, a way to remind ourselves of this, that if we can say, I have a smile on my face and I have 4 walls around me, then perhaps we can say, I have everything. Shabbat Shalom.
As we prepare to usher in Shabbat, what we do is we put a close to the week at hand, but we also prepare to usher in the upcoming week. And as we look ahead, we recognize that the holiday of Hanukkah will commence next week. The holiday represents and celebrates the miracle of the oil. A little can of oil that was supposed to last but one day lasted for an additional week, allowing for new stock of oil to be produced. But I ask you, was the miracle that great? Was the miracle of oil lasting an extra 7 days that amazing? It's not the first time that we have miracles involving oil. Just a couple of weeks ago in Parshat Vayera, we read of Elisha, the prophet, the way he produced oil to help Ovadiah's wife. And so really, this miracle warrants an 8-day holiday. What I want to propose to you perhaps is the way in which we observe and we appreciate this miracle. Perhaps that is what we celebrate. Many times, candles that you light last way beyond the hours on which the box it comes in marks. I remember a couple of times Shabbat candles that are supposed to last 3 to 5 hours. On many occasions I come down Shabbat morning to prepare my Torah reading and prepare for the Shabbat. And I look and one of the candles perhaps is still burning. So certainly, sometimes candles, oil, might last longer than we anticipate. But perhaps what we're actually celebrating is in despair when we are faced with a difficult situation which the Jews in the time of Hanukkah faced. Any little hope, any little amount of light is greatly appreciated, but we must also take that opportunity to appreciate those little things, those little miracles that happen in our lives. And that is really what the Jews did. They so greatly appreciated what happened, way beyond just a little idea of that oil just lasted for an extra 7 days. They saw it as a great happening. How much more so in our time during this pandemic, which is a dark period in our lives. How much every little thing that brings us happiness, brings us goodness, brings us light, we should take the time to appreciate it and consider it as a personal miracle. Back to our parasha of this week, of Vayishlach. Just as Jacob is ready to confront his brother Esav, there is a story of Jacob wrestling with a mysterious man. And the sages teach us that the man wrestling with Jacob was no ordinary man. He was actually Esav's guardian angel, disguised as a human. Now, before Yaakov could reconcile with his brother, he first had to wrestle with Esav's guardian angel. And the Kabbalists elaborate and explain this following. They explain that Jacob and Esav represent conflicting aspects of life, spiritual and material. And in order to understand this, we can also look at the usage of words in the Torah. The Torah tells us, Vaye'avek ish imo. The word Vaye'avek and wrestles comes from the word avak, the root word avak, which is dust. This is the same root word that also we spell the word avuka, which is a torch. And so the body and the soul are in constant warfare, each trying to draw the other towards what they appreciate and what they enjoy. The body tries to pull the soul towards materialism, while the soul tries to pull the body towards spirituality. And so what does Vaye'avek, wrestling, and avuka, and a torch have in common? With its use of a single root word for wrestle and torch, Vaye'avek and avuka, the Lashon HaKodesh, the holy tongue of the Torah, teaches us about the goal of wrestling between the body and the soul. The goal is not to obliterate material concerns and pleasures from one's life. The goal is to create the torch. A torch is not a single candle, but many points of combustion merged together. And that creates that spiritual light, a spiritual torch, not just a little candle, but a huge torch. And the soul must not retreat from this world. It must embrace the materials and the material world and fuse it into the torch of light. It must use the object and pleasures of the material world in which we live in as a tool to spread spiritual light. It must use the material blessings. We must use the material blessings that we have and fuse them into a spiritual torch, producing light, warmth, inspiration, and illumination for this world, especially during the times in which we live in. I hope that you are a source of light. I wish you warmth, safety, and wishing you Chag Urim Sameach, Happy Chanukah, and Shabbat Shalom.